Today, we are going to dive deep and try to sort the science from the hype in the world of longevity supplements. You've seen them everywhere, thousands of products, all promising to turn back the clock. But which ones actually have solid human evidence to back up those claims? Well, we're going to find out. We're breaking down a fascinating new report that ranks these supplements based on one thing and one thing only: science. You know the feeling, right? You walk down the vitamin aisle or you're scrolling online and it's just this barrage of promises. Live longer, have more energy, reverse your age. It's overwhelming. So how in the world do you separate what's real from what's just really good marketing? How do we find the truth in all that noise? So the report we're looking at today did something pretty radical. It just completely ignored the marketing hype. It even set aside the animal studies for a moment. Instead, it decided to focus on one thing: high-quality human clinical trials. The goal was to see which supplements can actually move the needle on real, measurable markers of aging in people. And that brings us to the key word here: biomarkers. Think of these as your body's own internal data points. Things we can measure, like inflammation levels or cholesterol. But it also includes these really fascinating new tools called epigenetic clocks. Now think of an epigenetic clock like this. It's not measuring your age in birthdays. It's measuring your biological age based on tiny chemical tags on your DNA. So the point here wasn't to prove these things make you live to be 150. It was to ask a simpler question: can they verifiably improve the numbers we know are associated with aging? Okay, so how do you take a literal mountain of scientific studies and turn it into a simple ranked list? Well, these researchers created a quantitative scoring system. Basically, they made a report card for every single supplement. Let's take a look at how they actually built it. This whole process was incredibly rigorous. You can think of it like a 6-step funnel designed to filter out the noise. They started with this huge list of popular supplements, and then they got tough. They searched for human trials only, and then they screened out anything that wasn't top-tier quality. Only after all that filtering do they actually pull out the hard data and score it. And this systematic approach is so important because it means the final list isn't based on someone's opinion. It's based on a transparent, evidence-based process. And here's the report card itself. You can see exactly how they calculated the final score. Each supplement was judged on these 5 key areas. But look closely at that max score column. Evidence quality, the strength of the human trials, is worth 30 points. That's the biggest slice of the pie, by far. And that tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. They also looked at whether the results were consistent, how relevant they were to aging, and of course, whether the supplement was safe. It's a really comprehensive way of looking at things. All right, we've seen the rules of the game, we've seen the scoring system. Now for the main event. Let's get to the results. Which supplements actually made it to the top of this evidence-based leaderboard? And here you have it, the top performers. As you can see, right at the top of the chart, you've got plant sterols, omega-3s, and certain B vitamins leading the pack with the highest scores. According to this report, these are the supplements that have the most robust human evidence behind them. Now, let's zoom in on a couple of the most interesting ones from this list. Negative 3.8 months. What in the world could that possibly mean? Well, this number, it represents one of the most compelling findings for the number 2 ranked supplement on the list, omega-3. So that number refers directly to those epigenetic clocks we talked about earlier. There was a major clinical trial that found taking omega-3s every day for 3 years seemed to slow down biological aging by, get this, about 3 to 4 months. That is a direct, measurable impact on a key aging biomarker. And that, along with its well-known ability to lower triglycerides, is a huge reason why it scored so incredibly high. Okay, next up, we have 2 supplements that have generated a ton of buzz lately, the NAD precursors known as NR and NMN. And as you can see, they landed pretty high up on the list, coming in at number 4 and number 7. So what exactly are these things? Well, to put it simply, they're the building blocks for a molecule that is absolutely crucial for our cells, called NAD+. You can think of NAD+ as the high-octane fuel for our cellular power plants, our mitochondria, and for our DNA repair crews. The problem is, our NAD+ levels naturally decline as we get older. So the whole theory is, if we can boost those levels back up, we might be able to support healthier aging. So why did they score so well? Because the evidence is absolutely rock solid that these supplements do what they say on the tin. They reliably boost NAD levels in human blood. There was even one really impressive NMN trial that showed improved muscle insulin sensitivity in women with prediabetes. But, and this is a big but, while the effect on the biomarker is clear,
the evidence that this translates into broad functional health improvements, well, that's still developing.
And now for what might be the biggest surprise on the entire list. Coming in at number 10, beating out dozens of other trendier, way more expensive supplements, was a standard, boring, off-the-shelf daily multivitamin. How did that happen? Well, the evidence comes from a very large, very high-quality study called the Cosmos trial. And what it found was that taking a daily multivitamin modestly slowed down that same kind of epigenetic clock we saw with omega-3. But here's the really interesting part. The effect was strongest in the people who are biologically aging the fastest when the study began. This suggests it might be most helpful for those who need it the most, maybe helping to nudge their aging rate back toward a healthier baseline. Okay. We've seen some pretty impressive results. It is really easy to get excited and think, okay, we found it. But hold on, because we've now come to what I think is the most important part of this entire analysis, the fine print. Because a high score is not the whole story. This is the single most important sentence in the entire report, and it is a critical reality check. Just because a supplement can change a number on a lab test, even a really sophisticated one like an epigenetic clock, that does not automatically prove it will make you live one day longer or be any healthier. That is a much higher bar to clear. And this right here is the perfect example of that principle in action. Remember how B vitamins ranked number 3? Well, that's because they are fantastic at lowering a biomarker called homocysteine. For years, scientists saw that high homocysteine was linked to heart disease, so the logic seemed pretty simple, right? Lower the number, you lower the risk. But when they actually tested this theory in massive clinical trials, they found something stunning. The B vitamins lowered homocysteine just like they were supposed to, but it didn't actually reduce heart attacks. The biomarker changed, the health outcome didn't. So, after all of that, where does this leave us? What should we really take away from this deep dive into the evidence? Let's try and summarize the key lessons here. So, here are the big takeaways. First, and maybe most importantly, having a data-driven system like this is a game changer for cutting through all the marketing noise. Second, the strongest evidence we have today tends to be for supplements that affect things we understand well, like cardiometabolic health or these new aging biomarkers. But it is absolutely crucial to remember the effects are often small. And context is everything. A supplement might only work if your baseline health is poor or you're deficient in something to begin with. And finally, and this is always important to say, this is a guide to the evidence. It is not medical advice. This report gives us an incredible roadmap of where the science is right now. It moves us away from wishful thinking and grounds us in actual data. But it also leaves us with the most critical question of all. The question isn't just, what supplement should I take? No. The real question is, which of these biomarker changes will actually, truly, translate into more years of healthy life? Proving that link? Well, that's the next great challenge for longevity science.